Hey guys, it's Emilio Espinoza with Espinoza & Associates, and I'm here to give you your market stats for December of 2021 and basically a year in review. Now, I know I got the toque on, I got the sweater on, but it's really cold today. So, let's get down to business. If we talk about 2021, everybody's talking about the number of sales that happened just over 121,000 sales, which is record-breaking for TREP, comparison to what happened in 2016, which was in around 105,000 units sold. Now, as we progress in the year, everybody's going to talk about inventory, and I've been hearing a lot of realtors and a lot of colleagues saying that, all we need is a little bit more of inventory, and this is going to be great to soften the prices. I don't think that's going to happen. What I was accustomed to knowing is when it was a seller's market was anything between 0 to 3 months of inventory. That was a seller's market. A balanced market was between 4 months and 6 months, and a buyer's market was anything in excess of 6 months of inventory. That was a buyer's market. Nowadays, if you really think about it, I would say that a seller's market is anywhere around 0 to 2 months of inventory. A balanced market would probably be 3 to 4 months of inventory, and anything in excess of 4 months of inventory is where you're looking at a buyer's market. That's the kind of interest and pressure and everything that's being put on by the buyers that are out there, and the lack of inventory. So, if we're looking at today, January the 10th, 2022, today, there are, in the GTA, there are 1,947 freehold properties for sale. Freehold townhouses, semis, detaches. That's how many properties are for sale right now in the GTA. If we look at condos, including condo townhouses, we have 1,617 properties for sale, which means today we have just over 3,564 properties for sale, okay, for a GTA population that is about 6.7 million people. Now, if we look at this, compared to this, no shit is gonna put pressure on pricing. As a matter of fact, if we look at properties that are less than 30 days, so let's say there's properties, obviously there's gonna be properties that are sitting there. We're looking at properties that aren't that good. So if we're looking at properties that are between 0 and 29 days on the market, then this number changes drastically to only 983 properties. This number here goes to 827, which is a total of 1,810 properties. We know that not every single property that's in the market is a stellar property. We know that. There's some properties that are probably on the market that requires a lot of renovations, require a lot of TLC. We also know that there's some properties that are probably in the market because we have some ambitious sellers, rightly so. But if we take that, if we really look at anything that's less than 30 days, guys, 1,810 properties for sale in a population of 6.7 million people. Let's break that down even further. How about we do a micro market? Let's see, if we're looking at condos in Toronto right now, of this number here that we looked at, okay? If we look at take the 16, right now in Toronto, there's 1,222 condos for sale. If we're looking at Mississauga, we're at 109. Brampton, 30. Oakville, we're looking at 31. Burlington, 25. And Milton, 12. I mean, that's alarming. That's a scary number to look at. Freeholds. Properties, again, we mentioned freehold townhouses, semi-detaches. We got in Mississauga, we got 124 properties for sale right now. Brampton, 137. Oakville, 56. Burlington, 41. And Milton, 61. So clearly, this lack of inventory is really going to be putting that pressure on price. And like I said, it would almost mean that, because people are saying more inventory would help the market. Yes, it's the winter months. We know that limited inventory. That's traditional of our markets. But even if that would mean that no houses can be sold, and everybody decides to sell in order to help that inventory put a little bit of that downward pressure on pricing. What's the likelihood of that happening? Not gonna happen. So we have to be realistic here. We have to understand that this is what we're gonna be subject to in 2022. It's to understand that there's gonna be a lot of pressure on pricing because of the lack of inventory. As a matter of fact, if we even take this a little bit further, just to see what the months of inventory, what does this look like? When we're looking at the months of inventory in the GTA, basically, I know you guys get numbers and people say, 0.54 days or months of inventory. Well, what does that really mean? How does it translate to? Well, let me break it down for you. In the GTA right now, average days, not average days, is the months of inventory, which is how many days of inventory do we have out there. In the GTA right now, it's 16.2 days. In Toronto, we're looking at 22.5 days, months of inventory. Mississauga, 12.3. Oakville, 14.1. Brampton, 5.1 days. Then we have Durham region, 6.9. And lastly, we're breaking it down to York region, we have 17.4 days, 17.4 days, months of inventory, which means if nothing new came on the market and whatever is for sale in these regions right now was consumed, that means that in 5 days, the amount of inventory that's there in Brampton, in 5 days, there'd be absolutely nothing for sale in Brampton. Now that is scary. And if you think about it, how can you blame people? We're all sitting, the people that do own property, everybody's sitting in a pretty, right now they're looking at their property, they're looking at what their property's worth, they're seeing how much has gone up year over year, they see how much money they could potentially make. But the question is, the $1 million question is, okay, I sell, where do I go? Where do I go? I'm gonna sell, where am I gonna go? Because really, if you look at it, what used to happen before, if we looked at real estate as a dartboard, and this was the bullseye, and that was Toronto. So the closer you were to Toronto, obviously the higher the pricing. And then obviously the further you went out, then the lesser and the lesser the prices became. Here's what happened though. That bullseye now got a lot bigger. So you're looking at properties in Cambridge, you're looking at properties in Guelph, you're looking at properties in Grimsby, you're looking at properties Waterdown, you're looking at properties in Binbrook. A lot of these properties, there's not much difference in the pricing between those properties and the prices properties that are being sold in the GTA. So keep that in mind when you're moving into 2022. We want to make sure that you're well prepared, you're getting pre-approved, making sure you dot your I's, cross your T's to make sure that you put yourself in a good position to make that purchase. So last thing I want to discuss is the fact that despite what happened last year, whatever is going to happen even into 2022, which is if we're looking at the number of sales that happened last year, I would probably predict, so the number of sales last year was I almost lost my notes here. This is so much info I'm trying to give you guys. The number of sales that we saw for last year was 121,712 units sold. Okay, record breaking. What I think is going to happen in 2022 is that you're probably going to see this number. I would probably say somewhere around, I would say between 90 to 94,000 units is what I think is going to happen for 2022. I'm on record, call it a prediction, call it a hunch, but I just see that obviously we're not going to be able to repeat what we did last year because of this, what we're seeing now, the lack of inventory. And the reason, again, I'm trying to emphasize this is because I think this is going to be the one factor that is either going to propel you into the market or the one factor that's going to propel you out of the market, unfortunately, because of the pressure that is being put on pricing. If we take a look at, again, if we also look at even the way the market behaved last year, we see that a lot of the units sold was, and we're looking at these months here, which is traditionally, that's your spring market. So when you're trying to see that, even in a market that we had last year, you still see that traditional market. We have a little bit of a blip here, which is typical of the market, and this is more of a traditional market that we've seen in the past. We have a little bit of a blip in August because it's summer and people were, able to enjoy the summer and go out and take some vacation. And then again, it picked up again. Now, the one thing here to keep in mind in these 2 months, I would say would be that's when we had the stress test rate increased, and it gave the market about a 30-day lull because people were trying to figure out the impact and the effect that this was going to have in the market. It had none. All it did is just honestly propel people to increase those prices and increase those sales. And again, if we look at all the pricing and the way the market behaved, the same way this pricing here, the same effects of the pricing is in translation to the amount of sales we had here. So what I would say, if you're a person that's looking at being in the market, talk to a real estate professional. Sit down, weigh your options, really see what capacity you're at, get qualified, make sure that you're properly counseled and advised, properly listened to. And this is the problem sometimes in our industry. Not many people, everybody hears you, but not everybody listens to you. So really seek out the professionals' help to really listen to what your position is today, what your financial capacity is, so that you're making a sound decision, not only for yourself, not only for your family today, but for years to come. And the last thing I want to just touch base on is that what we're seeing now too in the news is a lot of feelers. Now, I don't know if this is the government, I don't know if this is just the media, but we had early last year where people were talking about, just before the election, they were talking about how our good old friend Justin Trudeau there wanted to start charging capital gains on all properties, especially let me rephrase that. Capital gains on all principal residences. Now, obviously, that didn't sit well with a lot of the population and a lot of the people in the public. And now the next feeler that we're getting out there is a surtax. So what they're trying to do now is that they want to charge a surtax on properties over $1 million. And what they're trying to do is that they're going to say 0.2% and then topping out at 1%, which is around anywhere on properties valued of over $1 million, which means you're looking at about $400 to $1,000 per year that they're going to charge you on. You won't have to pay this right away, but when you go and sell your property, this money's going to be owed. And they're saying here that this should generate about, what are we looking at? This should generate between $4 to $5 billion of excess money and hopefully cool down the market. And another thing that makes me laugh here is that they say that unlike capital gains tax on all homes, this would only be applied to the top 9% of the most expensive homes in Canada. Is this going to happen? Truly, I don't know. Personally, I think it's just a feeler, trying to see what people, how receptive people are going to be to this. Personally, it's your principal residence. Should you be getting additional tax on it? No. This is why we all work hard. This is why immigrants keep coming to the GTA. This is why, as homeowners, we work so hard to pay our mortgages. And now it just feels like the government is just putting one extra hand in our pockets. So that is your market update for this, for December of last year in year in review. I look forward to doing more of these with you this upcoming year and really seeing how this market is going to translate into this year or unfold based on what I just told you. Guys, stay warm, and I'll see you guys next month.